Last night, something terrible happened.
Oh no, Disney got squashed by Amazon MGM Studios yet again. Terrible. Guys, Sheep Detective, what a movie. An animated movie about sheep that somehow explores grief, life after death, and also the shepherd as God. Kids and families deserve this type of movie. Cocomelon could never. Hollywood made this, and yet nobody is talking about it. We'll be unpacking all the morality of this movie because I think it's worth talking about. And not just because it's before its time, in my opinion, and definitely not your typical kids movie, but because our world is becoming more and more secular. And because of that, we need to discuss these themes. I think it's super important for us. So if you like discussing questions about movies, that's what this channel is for. We talk about movies, ask questions, and unpack the deeper meaning behind films today. So if you're interested in that, I would love if you would hit subscribe so you can see more content like this. If you want other people to watch this, please like this video so that my arch nemesis, the algorithm, will finally suggest videos to more people. Algorithm, if you're watching this, I hate you. Okay, point number one. This movie was a really mature exploration of morality. And for a kid's movie, that is almost unheard of. I bring up Cocomelon earlier because that's like your typical kids TV show that's really popular these days that has no depth and is only meant to be addicting. This movie, however, was slow, more slow paced than usual. And that is significant for a few reasons. But because it doesn't have that pizzazz factor, because it doesn't necessarily focus on the plot, it's a more character-driven film. And that's good for two reasons. One, the sheep entertain the kids, so you got that for the kids, but then the characters entertain the adults. So then you just got this nice, all-encompassing, family-friendly movie. Why this matters is because a plot makes you think about what's happening next. The characters make you think about you, about your life, about other people's lives, and about the world around you. The sheep have very unique realities that they are facing throughout the entire movie, and it brings up a lot of very interesting questions, a lot of very interesting worldview questions, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I think the main thing that sticks out to me is when the farmer dies in the movie, they finally have to reconcile their own morality, their own prejudices against the sheep in their flock, and that's actually what ties it all together. We'll talk about that though in a little bit. This film is not a classic kids movie. It doesn't have the flashy scenes, the quick cuts, the high saturated colors. It's more methodical, it's slower. It allows you to really sit with the characters in the themes. So the sheep detectives aren't just about solving the murder, they're about confronting a world that suddenly makes no sense to them. The second thing I want to talk about is how this film is soaked in biblical narratives. It's very interesting actually for a film to do this. So first off, the sheep-shepherd dynamic. That is one of the oldest metaphors in the book, and the movie leans into this. And not very subtly either, it's literally the plot. There's one scene where the sheep try to explain God to the rest of the flock. It's actually very funny. It's supposed to be very humorous. The sheep try to say that the God is the shepherd, he's also the sheep, and he also damns people, which they think that he's just a big beaver. It's absurd, it's funny. I don't think it is sacrilegious though, or offensive to Christianity. I think it's just poking fun at the sheep and the way they're trying to describe God, because God is a very interesting figure because he's hard to put your finger on. It's hard to figure out all the definitions of God and how they work together. That just makes him very unique and interesting. And just as a side note, I think Hollywood messed up, like big time. They probably didn't intend this movie to have these undertones. They probably wanted to focus more on racism, if I had to take a guess, focusing on combating prejudice against your neighbor, being more accepting of other people. That's probably what they were trying to go for, but then they accidentally leaned into this really religious Christian undertone that really stuck out in this movie, and that was cool. That is something I want to see movies do more of in the future. So they either accidentally or they intentionally left these in, and that just created this masterpiece. The sheep don't have a language for theology necessarily. They're working with what they know. So the joke isn't that God is absurd. The joke is that they've known something their entire lives and they can't quite explain it. And that should be also very relatable to us as we go out into the world. What are the things that we just take for granted, think that we just know, but then when we actually have to defend it or explain it, we don't know it? That's a good concept for a kid to have. Guys, I love this movie. This movie is so good for kids today. So here's where the movie gets complicated, because it doesn't actually like organized religion, but it does have a lot of religious undertones. So stay with me. Let's talk about that next. The clergyman and the minister in this film are actually portrayed very poorly. The institutional church is framed as cold, bureaucratic, out of touch, that kind of thing. The film distances itself from organized religion pretty deliberately. And it doesn't necessarily label itself as Christian, but it touches on those themes throughout the movie, like we've been talking about. So another example is the sheep have a very interesting view on death. They think in a very naturalistic way. Now, if you don't know what naturalism is, it's the belief that, well, in this movie, that it comes out as them turning into clouds when they die. Basically, it's a worship of the world around them. You think that you take your matter and return it to the earth so it can be used again in a very spiritual sense. There is no personal God waiting for you on the other side, and that is what they believe. So yes, this film does have religious undertones, but there are moments of it that tend to be very counterintuitive to that, which is why I say I don't think Hollywood intentionally decided they were going to go this way. Maybe one person did and they didn't tell anyone, because there's a lot of undertones here that are hard to miss. And yet I can't shake what the actual subplot of this movie is. That's the main thing that I keep going back to and saying, this is why this movie is Christian at the end of the day. And it's one of the most fascinating character studies of the movie. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm about to tell you, because I don't think many people noticed it coming out of the theaters. So the last thing I want to talk about is the winter sheep. Now, in this flock, if you're a summer sheep, you're a part of the herd. If you're a winter sheep, you're shunned. You're seen as weaker, less significant, not as good. Like, you are the outside. And this sheep actually ended up being the missing puzzle piece to the entire murder mystery. This is a very interesting metaphor for Christians, because you have the shepherd and the sheep. The shepherd cares for the sheep, every single sheep. There's a lot of verses talking about how you have 99 sheep, but God will go after the one that's missing, that is on the outside. And that is a great metaphor for our lives, knowing that those who are outcast, those who aren't necessarily accepted by society, are accepted by God. And that's not because everyone deserves to be accepted. That's because God cares about the lowly. He cares about the weak. And that is exactly what shines through in this movie. And that's so cool, because he gives us meaning and purpose and a new life. That's just an undertone I can't ignore in this movie. Our shepherd died to unite us with his flock. And there's going to be no more death, no tears, no sadness, separation, anything because of that. And that's the Christian gospel right there. And that is so cool to see in a Hollywood movie these days. You don't see that like ever. So it was a beautiful message for this film, for sure. Hollywood shocked the world with this. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. I'm shocked. And I think there are a lot of people, at least online, who are similarly shocked. So here's some questions I want to leave you with today. Things for you to think through. Hollywood can make films like this, right? We now know that. So why doesn't it do it more often? Sorry, I bumped the mic. I think the answer starts with us. Go see it. Go watch it in theater. Show the studios that that's the type of content that you want you, and if you have a family, your family to see. The green light is what is the reward. We have to show them what to green light. Number two, what does it mean to have a shepherd? I mean, that's like the whole undertone of this movie. The flock in this movie doesn't forget their shepherd after he dies. That's a super big subplot as well. The sheep can like forget certain aspects of their life if they want to, but they honored their shepherd by not actually forgetting his memory, which is pretty cool. So they grieve him. They honor that loss. What does it mean to do that for our shepherd, for God? So last one, how do you process loss? The sheep here, they can forget whatever they want. The sheep sit with this one murder and they end up getting the answers that they need at the end of the day because of that. And sometimes it's better to sit in that loss to have a resolution like that. How do we handle absence or loss or grief from our family members and friends and family? These are the questions I think are very interesting to think about. When it comes to Sheep Detectives, though, Amazon MGM has been cooking recently. Project Hail Mary was the first banger of 2026, and we're just going to probably keep seeing good movies coming out of Amazon this year. Just a good year for Amazon. And I'm not used to saying that, but here we are. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I genuinely mean it when I say that. I'm a small YouTuber trying to build something right now, and every like, every view, every subscribe, they matter to me, and I see that. So if you want to comment down below and share your thoughts, I do respond to those. I do think through them, so please, I'd love to start an actual discussion down there. If you did like this content, I would love if you subscribe, and again, like this video to help other people find this video as well. My name is Ethan. This has been Cut the Crab. I will see you guys in the next one.